Mr. Mabe, thank you so much for joining us. One of the authors of the report is a well-known academic. He's got struggle credentials, Ivor Chipkin. We all know that there's clear factionalism in the ANC. It's come out in the open now. But how can it be attributed to all the civil unrest that we've been seeing in South Africa, in your view?
Good morning and morning to your viewers. It does come out as a worry, especially this consistent pattern of wanting to attribute instances of instability to the African National Congress. It is rather unfair, but it is something that the ANC itself would have to get closer to.
Mr. Mabe, who else could it be?
Understand.
Sorry,
What very notion, which seems to be a growing notion out there.
Sorry, Mr. Mabe, there was a break-up there. Why don't you just repeat that for me, please?
The point I was making is that they seem attributes instability in the country to what is happening in the African National Congress. It's an issue that the ANC itself insists with having to attend to really understand what is giving rise to this kind of an understanding. We know that there could be challenges here and there in our own structures in terms of how our branch meetings are convened and conducted. We have asked our structures in provinces and in the regions to make sure that they attend to anything that might suggest or create an impression that there are problems of instability that lead to people even fist fighting in those very meetings or lead to instances of assassinations. So we ought to understand what is really giving rise to this. We had our NWC meeting this past Monday, regular one. We will be communicating this afternoon decisions of that National Working Committee. We have reflected on some of these questions that are coming up, and we will really be giving detailed marching orders to our own structures on what is expected to be done so that we could all safeguard brand ANC.
Mr. Mabe, there does seem to be a little bit more transparency, certainly amongst infighting in the party, and what kind of discipline should happen to those who do not toe the sort of, or violate the party, rules and ones that need to be disciplined. But this report seems to indicate that because President Cyril Ramaphosa does not run such a securocracy, he's not as sort of set on having his own security teams and being so paranoid as Jacob Zuma was, and cracking down on protesters, that we're seeing a rise in protests.
Well, not necessarily. I wouldn't really share that view. Look, there are a number of challenges that are really giving rise to instability that we're seeing in the country. The economy has not been doing well. People are without jobs. So you can attribute this to quite a number of factors. There's already work that is being done that was done initially by the panel of experts. There are engagements that are happening as well to try and what caused the West. Will be able to then communicate a message that appreciates the fullness of the situation as it presents itself. But to only rely on what would have been penned out there without necessarily attaching a bit of science to that might be unfair to the African National Congress. We need to at least be guided by science. Understand that, okay, these people that are said to be involved in all of these things are either members or associated with the African National Congress. And if that is so, what have we done ourselves to deal with such conduct, as it is not in keeping with the kind of the ANC membership that would want to keep well within our ranks? I mean, the ANC does not associate with acts of violence. The ANC does not associate with members of the ANC, what the society that the ANC leads. So it would be interesting to see what comes out of the work that is being done by these experts, the work that is being done by those that are probing the July 2021 unrest.
It could actually be useful to the party in the run-up to the elective conference. Would you say that President Ramaphosa doesn't wield as much control over the ANC as former President Zuma did?
Well, I don't know what you mean by wielding control, and maybe let's share our own experience here. We have had the privilege of serving in the at the 53rd National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, where President Zuma would have presided as president, and President Ramaphosa was deputy president at the time. And again, we are serving in the 54th National Executive Committee, where President Ramaphosa is now, there's not been any change. Actually, what we are now doing is to make sure that we try and build a great unit from amongst all members of Ramaphosa has been driving. He has been to the province of Eastern Cape to meet with structures there as part of the SEMA program, which takes ANC leadership on the ground to interact with structures, understand, discuss with them in much more fuller form the outcomes of the 2021 local government elections, but also lay the basis or lay the foundation for the 2024 general elections. The president has been leading that work. He has been to Mpumalanga as well, and he has been well accepted and well received by structures on the ground. So it is not factual that he does not wield much authority. He does. He actually works well with the collective. Every pronouncement he makes out there, whether it's on January 8 statements, as he meets and interacts with our structures, is a product of what the organization he leads will have processed. So he takes everyone along in the work that he does, which is now making us much more stronger, even on the ground. I mean, we had a shorter period to campaign for local government elections, but the president was himself available, crisscrossing the country with all of making sure that he carries forward the campaign of the African National Congress. When there was the July unrest, he acted swiftly. He ensured that special commissions are established to be able to look into what would have happened. But he himself was seen visiting some of those hotspots that were affected by the lootings. Now, this is not an absence.
Sorry, Mr. Mabe, you've broken up, and I think we must come out soon just because we've got... we can't hear you. All right, that was ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe. Thank you for your time this morning. Unfortunately, we did have some audio breakup there, so we couldn't hear everything you were saying, but thanks for coming on nevertheless.